but TheoRy, he's trying to jack the camp. Chicken. He gets it. Oh, he does it. Oh, he kills the Lancer with it too. Oh, it's a disaster for Mixu. Tampa right here in the red, down a game because he comes from the lower bracket. But what a lower bracket run he's had. His name from Finland is Mixu. And the bottom left in the blue, not dropping a single series, but struggling, striving to get here. He's the Infernal player for Aftermath. It's TheoRy. And theoretically, we're going to see what he has to do. But again, TheoRy is a very good player. He is arguably the top North American player. Mixu has been grinding like mad, though. When I was at DreamHack Atlanta, when I was casting DreamHack Atlanta, Mixu was playing in the open bracket of the StarCraft tournament. And when he was not playing in the StarCraft event, you know what he was doing? He was not playing StarCraft. He was not looking at VODs and prepping. He was grinding Stormgate. Over and over and over again. He has been one of the most, if not the most active Stormgate players that we've had across all the beta tests. He's been a Vanguard player pretty much the entire time. There was a brief time when this playtest started where he was grinding himself up into playing Infernals, on the argument that Infernals were just super broken, and then he went back to Vanguard. So I think that was a good idea. If you talk to Parting's going to say that actually, you know what, look, Vanguard is broken as hell. It's just that Vanguard players haven't figured it out yet. He says it less charitably than I do, but I am not a top one Stormgate player in the world, so I'm not going to go and be quite as uncharitable as he is. As this brute will get split. There we go. But Fiends get damage done. I wish there was some way to see who got the money. I don't know if it... I'm assuming, because there's just more damage there, I'm assuming that was gathered by our Infernal player, but yeah, you don't know. Meanwhile, Hedgehog opener coming out of Mixu seems to be the way that he wants to play. We got to talk about what TheoRy's doing, because this build is new. He showed it for the first time in tournament play yesterday. It's something that he and Parting have been working on, where it's the wall-off opener. Yes, it is a delayed shrine. This is not a single conclave opener, absolutely. But you get the wall off on the low ground. It means your rally's a little bit further forward. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it just yet. I mean, obviously they've been theory crafting. It keeps you safe against the big deal is it keeps you safe against these Lancer timings, right? Because you wall this off, Lancers can't get in. You have like one brute walling off. Gaunts behind it's pretty nice. Against Hedgehogs though, I don't know how that's going to do. Certainly the Fiends are going to get forced off this first brute. But I don't know how else. I don't know how this wall off is going to do against the Hedgehog, because you have a range advantage, right? Hedgehogs can kite away and they can just kind of kill the brute down, and the wall is not as nearly as impactful there. As the slow zone's finally going to get knocked down. Now there is vision, so well, TheoRy's going to try to defend against that one, and he's got a decent amount of speed Fiend, so it's pretty solid for him. Yeah, it's interesting talking about it. Whether we call these races, whether we call these factions, I think it's kind of funny, right? Because both are right. I think in 2024 it probably makes sense just to call things factions, not races. You know, it's like, you know, you have the infernal aliens, right? They're not human. Factions would make more sense if it's like the human Vanguard and the human Raiders or whatever it is, the faction that you control when you're playing co-op with Blockade, Blockade, whatever the Vanguard co-op hero is, because those are different factions. I think it's acceptable to call both different races. I was calling them factions just when we didn't know a ton about Stormgate, because it's like, I don't know. What are we going to have? Are we going to have multiple human factions? Who knows? Like, it's unknown. But I think at this point, yeah, calling them races is fair. I also understand why Frost Giant might not look to encourage that. Anyways, map control going the way of our Infernal player right now. What's he going behind this? That's the big question. No third base on the way just yet. He's opened up the left path, so he should be able to take the third base when he wants. But we're already technically late, quote unquote. Generally, an Infernal player. Now, again, I'm not super familiar with his build just yet. Generally, an Infernal player wants to get their fourth base before 4 minutes. So we saw Hydra in his series. He was getting that fourth base before 3 minutes, which is super fast. But TheoRy, as strong of a macro Infernal player as he is, he does like to be a little bit more active, likes to be a little bit more aggressive, but it is going to be a little dicey here going for this Doombringer drop. Again, this is what he's committed to. This is why he's got 8 on Therium for so long. He's been committing to this drop. But in the setup where there are a bunch of Hedgehogs on the map, they can handle things decently well. Trick is, Hedgehogs are on the other side of the map. They're the ones that are getting aggressive. This drop on the other side, they're going to find a hedgehog. They're not going to, they're not going to burst it down. 10% is not enough. 23 damage is not going to kill this. But into the natural we're going to go, and there is a sentry post, but there's nothing inside of it. There's going to be a repair. Actually, this is pretty cool. You put a bob inside of it, means it repairs a little bit, but there's no overcharge. And I mean, yeah, these bobs are, some of these, I think are going to, I was going to say, I think they're going to go down, but apparently not. Now there's target fire, so one will fall, but really only one. Big deal, though. Hedgehogs were forced right back home. It means the aggression, the pressure that Mixu wants to put on in the game is just not really going to be there. Now, he's going to find some hedgehogs in the middle. They're not going to siege up. Well, now they are, but a little bit slow. And with the hedgehogs here, with the sentry post as well, this drop can't really do much right now. Not the main of the natural, or not the natural in the third. Certainly, there is room in the main, and it can kind of sweep on over this angle and go from here. But that is not quite the easiest thing. But hey, level 2 camps. Hey, you got gods, you got fiends. Are we going for? Okay, so this is a much later ritual shrine compared to like the true parting build. So hedgehog's just gonna dive right on top of the Doombringer. Very nice snipe right now, and I don't think they took too much infest hits, so they're really they're fine. The dog's gonna stay alive too. So the ritual shrine is down, just about done, which means we should see the imp upgrade getting started. Now the parting build goes, and that hits at 7 minutes. Doombringer at 3:30. But that is a conclave shrine conclave. That is a much greedier expand than what we're seeing TheoRy go for. When I saw TheoRy go for this build yesterday in the pig stream, in the pig broadcast, his version of this, again, which is a little bit more middle of the road, not cutting quite as many corners, which I think is fair. Parting was able to get away with that build against Kiwian and Probe and other players, in part because I think it was a very new build that had been taken a lot of time to figure out. But he was able to get away with it to cut those so many corners because counter builds hadn't really been figured out. Now that counter builds have, it's not nearly as strong. As a bunch of fiends with speed are going to try to get on top of this. Now hedgehogs can kite away, but the problem here is the drop of the main base is starting to snowball a little bit. Yes, the bobs are overcharged, but they still take damage, and the mass repair is not there, so fiends are starting to get spawned, and this is a lot of bobs taking a lot of damage. I think a couple more are going to tick right down. 4, 3. No, mass repair is going to be okay. The gaunts are going to be left to die, but they've denied a ton of mining. Tons of Therium, tons of Luminite, and now, hey, Weavers are on the map. You can abduct them. That every abduct should be, every lash should be a dead. There we go. Should be a dead hedgehog, even if it's only about 30% HP. How long does the scout ping last? I'm actually not sure. I guess the active doesn't show up on this. I think it's like 5 seconds or so. I don't remember. It's enough to be. It's certainly enough to be useful. Now that scout will go down, and well, we see Shroud. So it gets manifested. Will kill. I think like one hedgehog, but hedgehogs shred structures. So now getting on top of this third base, a couple of the Shroud Stones are going to go down, and hey, look at this. Armored hedgehog is going to try to soak as many shots as possible, just denying, trying to block the space as much as possible. Meanwhile, imps are blowing up somewhere else. Area on the natural gets 9 out of 12 bobs. Very nice. It's, man, finding that little blue dot on the minimap is just so hard sometimes. And the hedgehogs are going to try to dive in. There is, of course, the Shroud was increased in range just a little bit. This Weaver is very, very slow. They're going to try to kill the fourth base. I don't think they get it right now. There are too many gaunts. And the gaunts should have a Reaper rush pretty soon, too. But yes, Ares Armory Studios, per lore, Infernals do have multiple races or multiple components of races. So the way the Infernals work is, as best as we understand, is they are dimension hopping army society, a hive mind, I guess, that hops across dimensions looking for worlds that have a ton of animus. A life force is how you can think about it. And what they do is they conquer these worlds. Any really good, strong warriors, as we're gonna see I love this imp bob drop, by the way. Is trying to explode on top of these hedgehogs is not gonna work out super well, and the everything in this really will go down. I do like gaunt bob or gaunt imp drops, because what that does is pretty cool. You're not gonna kill everything, but you're gonna splash a lot of stuff down. The gaunts can kill the rest, infest can kill the rest, and it works out really nicely. But they travel around looking for this animus to go in, because animus powers all their rituals, powers all their spells. But also, they're going to take powerful warriors. So, for example, whatever world this Weaver came from, because clearly, like, the Weaver is not of the same species. It's not of the same world as the Gaunt. or as the brood or something. I mean, this is a very, like, you look, this is like 3 eyes, this is like 6 eyes, this has a gaunt is, you know, more humanoid, more standard humanoid. And they convert them into, they convert them and corrupt them into the Infernal host. So it is very much a kind of, we're conquering for resources, we're bringing the best of you into our army. And actually what I think would be pretty interesting, because my theory goes here, and this is headcanon, I don't know, is that the third faction like chasing the Infernals around, because their homeworld was conquered, but a lot of them got out, and they're like, you're not doing this to anyone else. So the cool thing is when we get the full kind of faction list, or the full unit list, and the full third faction to come out, it'd be pretty cool if you can kind of look at, see at some of the Infernal, or one of the Infernal units, and say, wait a minute, this is a corrupted version of the third race's unit, which I think would be very thematic. And if that's how that goes, that'd be super cool. But anyway, next out right now. Now there are Weavers on the map, which means these Vulcans are not incredible. The Weaver's like, I'm gonna punch this fiend down. I'm gonna punch this fiend down. It's gonna be great. As slowly lashing these mobs up onto the high ground. But I do like holding this position like this. Certainly, at the very least, it does. It kills some mobs. Very, very nice. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the third race is just Pikachu's Grumpage. Or if you listen to the Tim Campbell interview, or no, the Save Op interview, he had clearly lemon loaf, which was his breakfast. You know, he ate his breakfast to kind of give us hints on the third faction. Meanwhile, look at what we see coming out of TheoRy. So he's slowly trying to constrain Mixu onto his side of the map. So he's taking all of his 4 bait, he's taking all of his 5 Illuminite bases. He's got a shrine down here to optimize Therium income, but he's also taking Therium on the north side, and he's taking this base as well. So when you talk about Infernal players, they need Therium so much more now. All the Vulcans are going to try to dash forward, looking for that splash damage. We do have an FSC dropping down, and a lot of these Vulcans are going to get abducted, lashed on forward, 30% off HP off the top. But all the Gaunts are dead immediately, and with this shield here, this Vulcan is just not dying. This is a beautiful fight, I think, coming in from a Vanguard player. More dashes and more stuns. And yeah, the Weavers are... They're hitting, they're tanky, but there's this dog. This dog is tanking the Weaver. It's doing what it has to do. It's doing a very nice job of it. And now this army that TheoRy had, we talked about his economy being really nice. His army was a little bit out of position. It was not complex enough right now. And yes, there's a shard stone that's going to be made manifest. It dies very quickly to this army. Imps coming in from the right side. They're going to try to blow things up, and they're not going to get a ton. Meanwhile, on the left side, hey, it's a bunch of Weavers that are exposed. Lancers get on top of them. Again, Lancers are decent against this. Vulcans are going to survive for a time. And the Flaming Imps are going to try to deal with this as best as they can. And honestly, they're dealing with this pretty solidly. This reinforcing line, this second round of reinforcements, all the animus that has been spent to get on top of things is working pretty nicely. But Gaunts are going to try to get on top of these Vulcans. And hey, Vulcans are just shredding them. They're all going to go down. Reinforcements from our Infernal player. Dash on top of the Weaver as well. From our Vanguard player. Dash on top of the Weaver as well. Get damage done. And unfortunately, this is... that's not an evac. That's a Sentinel. It does not save things. Yeah, it is so wild to me that I cannot get over the fact that Weavers are light units. So yeah, Vulcans do bonus damage to them. I mean, both units effectively counter the other Vulcans. If they're allowed to fire against Weavers, they do bonus damage. Weavers, if they're allowed to abduct and separate the Vulcans, they kill 30% off the top. Like they kill them pretty dang quickly. Because we're gonna see. This is so wild. So these bases, these sentry posts don't really get up. They're not gonna get a ton of mobs actually, but the cool part about this is not only are you stealing Therium, you're not really stealing, right? Because this is a renewable resource, but you are taking Therium from your opponent. You're mining it yourself. It also means you have ready-made imp flanks whenever you want. It's kind of a cool idea. It's pretty cool. But it looks like the entire fight now is going to force its way onto the north side. And that's good. For the Infernal player, what you want to do is this Shroud Stone is not going to be able to stay alive much longer. Abducts there, of course, on these Vulcans. Now, really, when you have these nanoswarms, you want to go and you want to have multiple abducts on the same Vulcan to knock them down. Adding in the Spriggans is a pretty cool idea. Problem is they do literally 0 damage, right? They do 5 damage a shot. They fire 3 shots at a time, so technically 15 damage, but the medtechs are out healing. The Spriggans do nothing. They do absolutely nothing. And they literally do nothing against Vulcans. With attenuation armor, they do 2 damage a shot against Lancers. They're not great. But they are, again, they're starting as the Spriggan count starts to grow. They are starting to knock down some of these Vulcans, slow their attack. And theoretically, against a bunch of Vulcans, they are pretty strong, because Vulcans, they do a lot of their damage based on their based on their attack speed, right? As this, we're gonna see this Hedgehog. Spriggans are trying to knock this down. It's not dying very quickly at all with the repair, and it's actually killing the Spriggans. The Spriggan numbers are not in high enough number just yet. But the other cool thing about the Spriggans attack, not only do they 3 for 5, as this other Vulcan's going to go down, but okay, that's not the thing I'm looking for. Their attack diminishes the target's attack and production speed by 6%, max 30% for 15 seconds. So 18% per volley. Which is, again, that's pretty cool. Right? Vulcans, their value, their DPS is because they attack very quickly once they spin up. So if you're able to go and slow that down, Spriggans do technically have an opportunity. And who knows, maybe TheoRy is going to teach me that this is worth doing. Remember, his economy is fantastic. His economy is still very good, so you can maybe make this happen. And we are starting to see, as it looks like Imp's on the right side and made an attack happen here. I kind of assumed it was north. We're starting to see the situation where, yeah, Mixu has taken 5 bases, but only 3 of them have Therium. He doesn't really have Therium. Yeah, Refinery is on. He's actually not mining Therium on this base either. So he doesn't really have a lot of Therium to build the Hedgehogs, to build the counterattack here for our Spriggans. So actually, they're trading pretty well, and you add in the Weavers on top of this. Like, this is actually started to look pretty viable, and in fact, running the Shadow Flyers on top tanks for the Hedgehogs. And I think TheoRy, this late game Spriggan switch, when his opponent was not ready for it, when he didn't have the tech ready for it, he was able to spend a lot of Therium, or a lot of Animus, excuse me, get things out, and he wins with Spriggans. Said no one ever. Game 2 or game 1 goes to TheoRy. TheoRy's up 2-0. In the bottom left, into the blue, he's up 2, playing a really nice game. It's TheoRy. They have a right in the red, going back, but falling victim to Spriggans for the first time ever. Probably it's Mixu. Man, the fact that he was able to make Spriggans work. Granted, again, it was one of those things where Mixu, he didn't have a ton of Therium mine. He was actually only on 2 patches. I don't even think he was mining out of his natural, and he didn't have enough production to swap into Hedgehogs. Really was the thing. Hedgehogs are very good. They deal with Spriggans pretty nicely. Hangar Bay, if you got Hornets, that'd be really solid. But kind of one of the cool things or one of the interesting things, I guess, about RTS, or just one of the key components, I guess, of RTS, is you want to mine as much of the primary resource as possible, and then the secondary. Because primary resource powers your ability to mine your secondary resource. In StarCraft, minerals and gas. Here in Stormgate, of course, gold and ore. Luminite, Therium. So you pretty much want to optimize your economy to mine as little of the tech resources as possible while still having enough to make sure what you do. So Mixu had that optimized, of course, but it did mean he didn't have anything in the bank for a tech swap, and that is a little bit rough. He also didn't have as many mech pays as he might have had, because he was going for a higher expense, lower unit count army. So all that together meant he was caught off guard. He didn't have enough of anything, and TheoRy was able to take game number 1 for that 2-0 lead, because of course this is a best of 7, and that means that TheoRy, coming from the upper bracket, has a 1 map advantage going into things as we move in to our 3rd point possible, but our 2nd game. So TheoRy, 3rd base at 238. This is what we saw Hydra doing earlier on. It's a double conclave expand. Now this is pretty vulnerable to Lancers. We have to make that point. This is pretty vulnerable to Lancers if you go for and that's exactly what's happening. So let's see what TheoRy has in store for us. You get Biokinetics Lab, you get kinetic redirection. These Lancers, you get very quickly. They move up to 50% faster. They attack up to 50% faster once that upgrade is done. And if you don't have a vault, they just move your gaunts. It's pretty rough. This is true, actually. Sorry, BB asked Stormgate Nexus, did you not see the Infernal door? And it was actually a super cool thing. So there was a gaunt opener, or there was a scout opener trying to catch on, I think it was a scout opener, trying to catch the gaunts, trying to take this speed camp. But the Infernal player had mined this tree out. So the gaunts, they aggro, realizing they're going to die. They aggro the camp. And of course, then it starts attacking both the scouts or both the Lancers actually. The Lancers, not it was a Lancer opener, not a Scout opener. They attack both the Lancers and the Gaunts. Gaunts run through the gap, and the Lancers they try to follow. One gets trapped by all the creeps, and it goes down to the creeps. I don't think you can make that happen intentionally, but it was super. This happened yesterday, by the way. It was super cool. Oh, nice little scout there. Picks off the dog. Now, Lancers are not getting aggressive immediately. You're going to wait for the upgrade, of course. That's now on the field. Kinetic redirection. Powerful upgrade. But also creeping out just a little bit. So the Fiends are going to see this. They're going to say, okay, that... I think they're going to see it. Maybe not. Looking for the resource camp. Resource camp not there. Okay. Oh, what are we going to find out here? Now, of course, these Fiends cannot fight these Lancers. They just do not do enough damage. They do not tank enough. But maybe. Are they going to steal it? I have no idea. I have no idea if TheoRy stole it or not. You really can't tell. But I'm going to choose to believe that he did because that is hype. So TheoRy stole the gold. And that is pretty solid. Anyways, the Lancers are here. We got 6 of them, 7 of them on the map. There's a Shroud Stone forward. A single Shroud Stone does not stop these many Lancers. And by the way, there's a greater shrine on the third base because that's a little bit more HP, 2,500 versus the 1,500. It gives you a much larger HP buffer. The drop's going to get started now. Of course, we also have ults out, so there are brutes here. But this push is happening, honestly, pretty slow for Mixu. It's 5 minutes in, and finally, we're starting to see these Lancers on the other side. They're going to get on top of this Shroud Stone, and it will die. Absolutely. There's a Doombringer drop on the other side, and the problem with this can be, if you stay alive, and again, I love this Shroud Stone on the high ground. It's actually such a good position, and this wall as well. I mean, it's going to take a while to get for the Lancers to get on top of things, and they're never going to get on top of this. So this SimCity coming out of TheoRy is really nice. Meanwhile, drop on the other side. It's going to start to get some of these Fiends. Mixu is not all in on this, but he is really being forced to commit to this. He does have his third base on the way on the secluded position, which is, again, that's a lot more Therium. That's pretty solid. Third base, taking a lot of damage. And this is where getting the Greater Shrine on the third is actually a pretty solid idea because, again, it'd be much closer to being dead at this point. It just gives you a lot more room to play around with. Now, Lancers, they've been built. The Gaunts will go down, and while the Doombringer is F2'd back home, I don't think this is a play theory. I really don't. You can put the Gaunts in the Doombringer. You can teleport back home and have that power, but instead, he just F2's it back home. The Gaunts will go down. There's nothing that threatens the Doombringer. There's zero reason. Absolutely zero reason to go lose the Gaunts like that. That's really not what you want. But yes, the replays should be available for those of you that are interested in kind of taking a look at the replays yourself up until March 11th when the game goes down. But up until that point, apparently Lancers were doing damage to this high ground Shroud Stone. That just seems wild. But this is actually pretty cool. So there's a Weaver on the map, and Weavers are, again, super ungainly. They don't respond to things super well. So the Weaver was in the Doombringer just to make sure it got on top of things as quickly as possible. This Lancer, things are just getting A-moved. Yeah, the Weaver's not taking a ton of damage because, well, first of all, it's on Shroud. There's a Greater Shrine, so 2% HP, 2% white health per second, and Lancers don't do a ton of damage. They attack quickly, but their individual attack damage is not insane. 10 damage is, you know, when you're healing 7.2%, or when you're healing, is that 14 a second? Is that? Yeah, when you're healing 14 a second, you're just not really an individual Lancer is out healed by the Weaver on Shroud. Actually, it's when you have a bunch of them together. But for now, the third base is going to stay alive. Vanguard, though, taking the middle of the map once again. The Lancers are going to get... This is the problem. Lancers, with this upgrade, they just dive the Gaunts, and there's literally nothing you can do about it. You have a Doombringer. You can try to bunker them in as another Weaver's going to get dropped on the front lines. This Doombringer will fall... Ooh, he's going to stay alive just barely. And, well, no white health, though. Now, you got to stay on Shroud. These... Again, regenerating 14 HP per second is really nice. And, that's beautiful. The surprise, the ambush by the exploding imps as the Lancers dive in does a really nice job of slowing this push down. But you got to do more than slowing the push down, is TheoRy. That is not correct, Chick Rainbows. It is 1% white health per second on tier 1, 2% on tier 2, which you can see. Greater absorption, 2% white health regeneration per second on Shroud. Actually shows it on the structure. And of course, 2% of 720 is 14.8 or so. Yeah, no, a Greater Shrine is 2%. 2%. Regular Shrine is 1%. Regular Shrine is 1%. As now a bunch of Fiends are going to show up Imps are going to show up in this middle base, trying to blow. Oh, that's a beautiful connection. Not all of them make their connections, certainly, but that's a decent amount of obs going down. These Lancers, though, are going to try to dive into the natural, where there are a couple Shroud Stones. The SimCity is really solid, and of course, you can take a couple Fiends and polish these things off if they really try to dive in. But the problem right now is Theory's on 3 bases, and his opponent's on 5. The economy here is really going to skyrocket unless there's something that Theory can do to it. So he has to kill these Lancers. He's got to knock them down, and he's got to find some opportunity to hit with a flank, maybe, to really put the kibosh on this, because still there are 18, 23 mobs in the middle of the map. I mean, that is significant economy. And now with these Exus as well, it's a lot more power. The ball is starting to get built. It's all Shroud, by the way, in terms of 2%. All Shroud has a 2% HP regen per second, not just around the Greater Shrine. As now, this is a pretty rough fight. The Doombringer was caught out. There were units inside of it. The Weavers are going to go down. And this actually might just end the game, unless the Imp shots are really good. But they're not going to be. And now that is an entire Illuminite line worth of Imps that have all gone down. All the Therium spent as well. And this army's just not dead. Lancers are here. They're going to start to A-move on top of things. Yes, there's a Shroud Stone made manifest, but Exos talk this down very, very quickly. Theory is going to lose his first map to Mixu unless something crazy happens, unless these Imps just go absolutely bonkers, and I don't think he will. It's 3 bases to 5. The economy's not there. The production's not there. The tech's not there. The defense is not there. Imps are dying as they spawn. More going to pop up. Nice splits. So it's still not enough. Elder Shrine. It's not a Hive Shrine, Bakanaperta. The Elder Shrine that we know is going to exist. Oh, wait, I can't show it on this, but it is locked until later on. But the Tier 3 Shrine is going to heal 3% per second. I do know this. I was given a data sheet for EGC, and the devs put that in, and it said Elder Shrine was regenerating 3% per second. But now, of course, with the healing camp, you'd like medtechs at this point, but if you don't have them, hey, you got a healing shrine, or the health camp is going to be totally fine as tons of Fellhogs die. Somehow Theory's not dead. Somehow Theory is not totally dead. I mean, he's in a really rough spot, but he's still somehow in this game. The problem is he's just losing more and more. He's losing position. He's losing static defense. He's losing meat farms. He has not really been able to get effective pressure on this middle base. He had 1 drop, and he got a couple workers, but not a ton. And it really is all down to these Imps that are trying to blow things up. But the kites are good. The splits are good. The target fire is good. And yeah, a couple Exos die. It's not really enough. And actually, I do like what we see Theory do sometimes. Not in this game. He hasn't been able to. But what you do is you actually run the Imps forward if they have full white health. And when you do that, then you start to convert them, because it's either they explode or you don't waste the 25 Therium on it. So like it's a nice little bit of tech if you are in a position where you can do it. Of course, this army's just too big, and as they run forward, if they're not running, if they don't have that speed boost, they just die anyways. But Shroud Stone made manifest once again. Weavers are starting to go down. You should be able to eat one of these Fellhogs, and now again, more Imps are going to be forced to explode. But the problem is, first of all, despite how much damage they do, there's still 1,000 HP shield on this Lancer, and it will not go down very easily. Theory taps out. Mixu takes the first map of the series. We're 2-1. Yeah, but right. Down a game, but looking pretty convincing in game number 2. His name, of course, is Mixu. And the bottom left in the blue, he comes in with a 1-map advantage. He won game 1 before he fell down just a little bit. Economy is a problem, maybe. His name is Theory. Talking about Stormgate Nexus saying that they have a Skynet drive near us, named after the same. Feels weird. I grew up in Virginia. I grew up in Northern Virginia. And on the drive into DC, I would always go by, there's this road, you just see it an exit off the highway. And it was the road was named Spy Plane Lane, which is just a fantastic name, right? Like Spy Plane Lane, awesome. Fantastic, big fan. So you got that to contend with. It's pretty cool. But again, we're seeing this this build coming out of Theory once again, where it is the wall off. This does keep you safe against the Lancer builds. There's a reason that Lancer builds are not gonna say much weaker on this map, but Theory, at least against Theory's build, much weaker on this map than they were on Secluded Grove, where it's a little bit harder to get that wall off. It's a little bit harder to make sure that you're safe. They should name Spy Plane Lane Nothing Sus Here Lane. It doesn't roll off the tongue. Quite as well. You don't have that. You don't have the poetry. So the Gaunt's gonna get dove just a little bit. I think. Oh, I think Mixu sniped that. I'm not sure. I think Mixu took the money there. But oh, look at this feed surround. Is the first Lancer gonna go down? I think yeah. Now at this point, yep, it is dead, gone in the ground. And hey, guess what? The Gaunt heals it right back up. So this is Hedgehog opener, by the way. It's not the double. It's not the double Lancer opener, which I think is good because I think on this map in particular, the double Lancer opener has been solved. So certainly on this setup. So you go for the Hedgehogs and you get aggressive with it, and you make you convince Twitch chat to complain about your Lancer opener. Not the Lancer, the Hedgehog opener. You get Twitch chat to go complain. Because Hedgehogs are apparently really bad units. Now, I don't know that this is true. Seem pretty good in the games that we've seen them, but, you know, Twitch chat's allowed to complain. Ah, yes. Stormgate Nexus reminding me in Twitch chat that Twitch chat never complains or really has anything. But anyway, Hedgehog dives on top, gets it gone. Very nice. And your goal here is you open this one base. So remember, this was one base Hedgehog, not two base. Your goal is to snipe Gaunts, to kind of cut units off, to get Brutes down maybe, because Brutes do truly get absolutely murked by this. Gaunts, they don't take bonus damage. They're a little bit better, but they're not high HP, so it still kind of works. And of course, the fun of the Hedgehog as well is that it is intensely microable. So I know a couple of Vanguard players at least are big fans of the unit, not even because it's necessarily a good unit or a bad unit, but it's really fun to play with. Honestly, I never complained. But anyways, when are we nerfing the Spriggan? Classic RTS fan. Love to see it. That is how things work. But okay. Theory's on the map a little bit, of course. He's got a decent amount of fiends. The Gaunts are there. The Hedgehog count isn't high enough to properly contest this army at the moment. So this does mean that despite Hedgehogs looking for map control, Theory, at the very least, he's going to get the first round of creep camps. And honestly, Hedgehogs don't really get creep camps super well anyways. A lot of the creep camps are light, so the Hedgehogs don't do a ton of damage to them. And it's a little bit awkward, but now with 4 Hedgehogs on the map, you can start to kind of click around and do things. And certainly you can do things like knock the vision camp down. And now, while we talk about knocking buildings down, this Shroudstone's dead very quickly. The defense that you're looking for is not all that great. But remember, Mixu dove in far too deep in game... No, I think it was a game against Hydra. He dove in off this Hedgehog opener, dove into the natural, got totally surrounded, and just died. And he's actually invulnerable. He's in danger of this happening once again. The Fiends are looking to cut him off at the flank. I think there might be some room to... Oh, there might be some room to escape. This is still pretty bad. This is still kind of a rough spot. Hedgehog, this leading Hedgehog will die. Yeah, 10%. It had less than 23 HP. It will fall down. That's another Fiend. Dog dies as well. More Fiends going down. And Hedgehogs are a commitment. They're not that expensive. It's 25 Therium, but they are a commitment, right? They are something that you have. They don't build the quickest. You do want to keep them alive as much as possible, generate as much value, really, as long as you can. And now that Hedgehog count has been diminished a little bit, now that the third base is, the space is available, we're going to see Theory going. He's going to take the third base. He's going to start to develop himself a little bit more. Stormgate Nexus, thank you so much for gifting a tier 1 sub to Annabelle. You're awesome. But okay, so the drop goes in, gonna get recalled. See the eye. Oh, can't zoom in on it. Too late. I love the eye. I don't know what this is supposed to be. We talk about how different races, different factions, but like, is this like a big space worm that like the mouth is down here? There's this thing up top. Does it like eat up? Is it just holding 8 Gaunts in its mouth? Is that what's happening? I truly, my mind is boggled by this. As brutes are going to get moved by the hedgehogs because they kill them. Brutes do not handle this very well, but hey, I think we saw the fiends go and go kill off one of those camps. Now you got to be very careful with the Doombringer there, because well, the hedgehogs will annihilate it. So you drop it down just a second to release your units, pick them back up, and maybe like drop it down a little bit because you want the shroud. But on the flip side, you don't want the hedgehogs to aim movement. So it's kind of a tricky bit of micro right there. But for now, TheoRy's got his third bases up. Mixu does as well. This game is probably the most even game we've had in this series thus far. Game one, Mixu lost a lot. Was it that game? I can't remember whether the hedgehog game I'm thinking was this map game one or was this map against Hydra. But Mixu didn't get a ton done, so TheoRy was able to just kind of explode his economy, take the map. Game two, Mixu got more done, and he was able to explode his economy, and TheoRy wasn't able to take the map. But now in game three, both players are on 3 bases. TheoRy's trying to get his 4th base now. The hedgehogs are going to have something to say about that, but looks like for the moment, the army's going to be able to rotate over in time. 3rd base is done, and it should be okay. I love the addition of this one Lancer, though. It's actually doing so much, soaking up so much damage, getting so much damage done. All the guns are dead. And a Shroudstone Shirt's going to be made manifest. Another drop right now. And again, I love including... Hey, this is so cool. I've never seen TheoRy do this before, but adding the Weaver into the Hellbore or into the Doombringer just to make sure that you have some answer to this highly mobile army is a pretty cool option. Yes, Bruno, you are correct. By saying the flip side, I have infringed on Steadfast copyright. Yes, the sub goal is absolutely a trap. Every single time someone subs to it, the goal goes up by 1. It is genius. Because Sal hates this chat. My goal is just to defraud my chat. That's how this works. But anyway, yes. So Steadfast has flip side. We need to talk about Beefline more in this chat. Apparently, it's just what's happening. So I can make up for my copyright infringement upon Steadfast. Sorry, Steadfast. I did not mean to do such a horrible thing, but this looks like it's going to be an imp drop. There we go. That is a lot of bombs in that Therium line. Even with the overcharge, a lot of stuff goes down. Fiends get dropped, and that's a pretty effective drop coming in. Now, of course, with the Hedgehog, it's going to force the Doombringer out. The Gon is kept around, and by the way, the Bob wins this fight. The Gon is an army unit, and the Bob wins the fight because it has been overcharged, but there's a fight in the middle of the map here as well. Tons of Weavers here trying to deny this 4th base. And it seems like they're going to be able to do so. A couple imps went and exploded on things, but not a ton. 4th base is denied. Weavers at the front line. Again, they don't take a ton of damage from these hedgehogs. Some, sure, fine, but not a ton. And now looking for a high ground lash there on top of the Atlas. Maybe, just maybe they're going to be able to get that. This pressure coming out of TheoRy is a problem. It is a significant problem. Weavers getting on top of the Atlas, half damage done. And now slowly, steadily, these Weavers, they slouch forward, looking to find a new Jerusalem, or however the Yeats poem goes. I forget. But anyway, now we see the healing again. This level 2 healing. Reaper rush on forward to get on top of some of these Bobs to start to form more of these fiends to really make this harder. And Mixu's in real danger of losing this base. Now, of course, the Atlases are there, and they're going to just abduct on top of everything. Gon's taking a big shot on the north side. Hey, there we go. Look at this. We have the shield going down. Actually, the Weavers missed their lash. They abduct each other, which is not great. You're trying to get burst damage done. You don't really want to abduct Weavers. That's wasted damage. That's wasted. This wasted animation, really. That's wasted attack time. But the 3rd base will fall, and the Weavers are still here. There's still this Doombringer adding in just enough Shroud, and Mixu has to tap out. TheoRy goes up 3 games to 1. In the upper right, in the red, he's up 3 games to 1. Of course, one of those was free, but the other 2 he has won. For Aftermath, it's TheoRy. In the bottom left, in the blue, down 2 games, but he did look good on this map. It's Mixu. Oh, Eskimos, teaching the second coming to your first-year uni students. That's awesome. It's a really good poem. I'm a big fan. There's a ton to unpack into it. But yes, Stormgate Nexus, I trust you. You can post a link if you want. No issues there. Yeah, Snowdrop, lots of people in the YouTube chat. It's just me. It's just my bot posting things. But anyway, we're looking here at this game. What do we got from TheoRy? So this time it's going to be High Ground Wall, Conclave, Shrine, Iron Vault. So on the greedier side, right, only 1 structure early. That's not gonna be that bad. Now the question is look at this. The Gaunts are trying to hide from things, but the scout's gonna find him. 2 Gaunts beat a scout. It's fine. The question though is, where do we see our Vanguard player going? We saw hedgehogs, I think, on this map earlier on. And we saw him, he's kind of been going hedgehogs in general, but this is a 1 Rax Lancer play. No second Rax, only 2 workers on Therium, so it's not going to be a really quick Hornet. I think this might be a quick third base, actually. This feels like a pretty macro play coming out of Mixu in this game number 4, game number 5, technically, but 4th that we're playing. Because again, it's not a... no, never mind. There's a second barracks. Okay, so it's going to be 2 Rax Lancer play. He just delayed the second barracks a little bit, or I'm off on my timing slightly, which is very possible. I don't have all the Vanguard build orders totally memorized just yet. Like, I know what to do to defend him, and I know what I'm going to see. But anyways, first Lancer's going to try to get trapped. Remember, TheoRy did... oh, look at this body blocking on the Fiend. Kills the dog, too, to get a 3rd Fiend. TheoRy is so freaking good. At one point, Parting and TheoRy together have said that Parting is TheoRy's hands. TheoRy and Albino are Parting's brain, effectively, the Aftermath brain trust. But TheoRy with the body blocking there on the Fiends to make sure the Gaunts knocked that down and got that to get that first Lancer was actually super sick. That was very good. That was awesome. So for now, the creeping can continue and will continue until morale improves. So the vision camp's down, the speed camp is down. We're gonna see him take the health camp now, so he can regen some of his unit stuff, and also probably move north to the speed camp. There's some kind of cool stuff you can do where you can mine out a tree and run it through the north side and then run it through here and like build up some run bys and kind of cycle through the entire north side of the map. But for now, I mean, this is too many Lancers. I don't think the Fiends are going to be able, even if they get us around, they're just going to die too quickly. But I mean, the Lancers feel like they got to run. They don't feel like they have enough damage right now with the Brood on top of things. So half damage on the Lancers, it's going to be forcing them away. But you don't overcommit too much with this as theory, because this is 2 Rax. This is 2 Rax Lancer. That is a lot of Lancers that are going to be produced coming out 2 by 2. You can very much overcommit. You can very much lose your entire army, and it gets rough. So TheoRy, he's got a Shroudstone well defended here in the natural. He's going to probably... doesn't have one in the main base, actually. And we're going to see him... so he's going to try to fight in the healing zone, which doesn't really work out all that well. Now, I do love the body blocking here from the Brutes, actually getting damage done to this 1 Lancer. That is, again, it is going to stay in the healing zone. And now, well, okay, Mixu. Okay, Mixu's going to try to dive on top of these. But, oh, man, the micro here is actually really good from TheoRy, making sure the Gaunts can't get on top, or the Lancers can't get on top of these Gaunts. And now there's a Doombringer. It can save almost everything. It can't save the last Brute, but saves the Therium unit, saves the Gaunts. That's a pretty big deal. So Gaunts are going to have to go back home. And you can actually do some pretty cool stuff where you put the Gaunts like right here with a Shroudstone and put the Brute right there, and the Gaunts are nigh untouchable. That's going to be pretty fun. That's going to slow this push down just a bit. Oh, interesting. So that is so Bossy Stormgate is saying that the health regen, and it takes 50 seconds to gain full white health. So normal shrine gives 2% per second, which would mean Elder Shrine gives 4% per second, which is interesting. So that is either a bug tooltip or actually a bug in the game. Someone should report that in yeah, so Chuck Ram has made a report about it. Okay, we are learning new things. By the way, 3rd base on the way for Mixu. It's going to get scattered out pretty much immediately, but a literally 9 HP Fiend won't do much about it. Now this drop absolutely will, and you can't overcharge because the base isn't done. So these, yeah, these Bobs are dead. The 3rd base actually made somehow it finished. Not all the Bobs had run away. The 3rd base is done. That does mean that this is actually a bit better of a situation. That last Gaunt's going to get picked up. Units are going to get saved as well as they can, but a bunch of Bobs go down. This is pretty solid. Hey, Naiden, thank you so much there for the raid. Welcome here. Of course, we are in Game 5 of our Grand Finals. There's no lower bracket finals after this, or there's no 3rd, 4th place match after this. This is the last series of the day. TheoRy has won 2 games. Mixu has won 1. TheoRy has a 1 map advantage from starting in the upper bracket. Is what you're looking at right now is this drop is going to get another Bob and another Fiend, and you know the Fiends don't do a ton when the Lancers are there, but it's worth something. And TheoRy is just being as obnoxious as possible. So he's going to take his own 3rd base. And remember, in the last game, Mixu was able to go and take his 3rd base much faster than TheoRy's. He was able to take the 3rd base, or he was able to take the base in the middle much better than TheoRy's. Much faster than TheoRy's. This game, that's not really going to be the case. Although this 3rd base, there are a lot of Lancers here, and yeah, that's not really gonna go. This base is dead. You gotta cancel this one. Theory is jacking some of the speed camp. That is gonna be pretty nice. Building himself a couple fiends. He's gonna rotate back on over, but a couple lancers are here, so that's gonna slow things down, slow the damage down. Lancers really do not die to this. Hey, there's an overcharge as well. So Theory back on 2 bases. Mixu's got his third. The drop is not being as effective as it would like, and now Theory's got to find. He's gonna have to take the less optimal third. You really want this third as an Infernal player, because this Therium, this is a neutral unit. This Therium patch right here, you crack that open, you get Therium. You don't get that if you take this third base. So you're kind of in this weird situation, and really Infernal players don't like it when you go third base, when you don't have as much Therium patches as you have Luminite. Vanguard can get away with it. Lancers are only 100 Luminite, right? Exos cost Therium, but it's, you know, it's only half your army. It's once you start to get like Sentinels and Medtechs and things where it starts to get more expensive. But for most of the game, Infernal players, they care much more about the ore than Vanguard players do. So Theory, he's getting the shrine, so he's going to mine that somewhat efficiently, but he's really not super happy about it. Now, I mean, we're going to have the Shroudstone get made manifest here, certainly, and that's going to add a little bit more damage. Of course, when it's got that crackling on it, it fires faster, because, and it also makes the Shroud have a little bit longer range. But units are dying as they rally across. The SimCity's bad. The first Shroudstone falls, and Imps are going to try to blow themselves up with the target fire from Mixu. He sacrifices 1 Lancer. It wasn't even a veteran Lancer, so you're totally fine with this. Because not only is he delaying this third base for a time, not only is he delaying the Therium for a time as well. On top of that, he's killing units. He's forcing Therium out by making these Imps get converted, and all of this is expensive. It is value that it is money that is not being spent on Weavers, not being spent on Hellborn, not being spent on Gaunts, on anything else. We do see, of course, the Weaver goes and eats one of the Fiends around, and that makes it last much longer. I mean, this thing is stupid tanky. It is insanely tanky. And those Imps from the backline do a decent amount there on the Exos. In theory, we'll hold on between the Imps getting damage done and between this Hellborn on the backline 3-shotting all the Exos. It's pretty solid, but remember, Mixu's on 5 bases. Not mining out of him just yet. Doesn't have the workers, but he's on 5 bases. Theory is on 3, trying to get his 4th base right now. He needs to go establish this base as well, probably just balance it out. But that's hard, because this heavy pressure coming out of our Vanguard player it hurts. But look at this, the Weaver's going to dive right on top of the Exos, Reaper Rush on forward, but the Lancers just shredding them. It doesn't matter. It really, they can't get on top. The Exos are still there. The single Hellborn is not in enough numbers, not really. It takes 3 Hellborn to one-shot a level 1 Exo. Actually, how much Exo does the armor do? Yeah, it doesn't have any armor, so three shots. No, excuse me, 4 shots. I could have sworn Exos had 150 HP. 4 Hellborn, 1 shot an Exo. Of course, when you get to level 2, apparently we don't have, there we go. Once you get to level 2, it gets even worse. But for now, again, you do want that other Shroudstone manifest targeting down these Exos as they run forward. The Hellborn is just really nice damage on the top. I mean, 50 damage burst is pretty solid, even if it does attack slowly, and even if it is literally a ball of hate. But I think Theory's kind of in a rough spot in this game once again. Hellborn or Doombringer is going to show up on the backside, targeted down. There we go. It's dead. 1 Gaunt side will fall. And now, well, everything's going to fall down. We're going to see, of course, the Hellborn get jumped upon. Yes, there is a Nightfall infestation, but it will not get much anything either. And all the army is going to go down. The Imps are going to try to explode themselves, but you kind of kite away from this one just a little bit. Target them down as you can. I mean, the shots are really good. So this will slow down Mixu just a little bit. More Exos will fall. But think about what this costs at the end of the day. This is a 5-base Vanguard player. Theory's only just now got his 4th base. That's not really mining from it. Yes, he does have Anima, so you can replenish his imp count pretty quickly, but every single explosion, every single implosion, it actually doesn't show up right there, is 25 Therium. And yes, there's a little bit of a bug, like if you have no Therium and you box selects like 8 imps, you're gonna be able to turn all of them into to set them on fire regardless of how much Therium you have. But it's still expensive. Even with the bug, it is still a decent amount of problem right there. The Exos move forward. 1 level 2 Exo does so much damage. Imps on the backside just to get targeted down. A couple of them are going to go off. The splits are not great for Mixu, not just yet, but now they are. And now, I mean, more Imps are going to try to explode, but like, look at this. 1 Lancer holding the line. Sacrifices his life. Hodor in true effect. they ever considered that Hodor was named Hodor because his job 3 books down the line, whenever he first showed up, 4 books down the line, was to hold the door. So his name was going to be Hodor, to hold the door. And that was George R.R. Martin really thinking ahead of things. Apparently, that's how that works. I don't know. But yes, this one Lancer, you put him in the stop. All the imps connect, and it does not feel good. So look at this exo turret as well we got here. I don't quite know why he's putting the exo turret there. I think he went like a medtech turret, maybe a buzzsaw turret, but I guess this prevents against any sort of like weird Doombringer flank, maybe. But anyway, there are a couple Hellborns on the field. TheoRy has been able to develop the Therium at least for that. And he is starting to mine off of 3 Therium right now. He's got this patch on the north side that finally gets cracked. So his economy is getting better, but it's still 5 bases to 4. Right, that's the big deal right now. And this Bio Army continues to run forward. Shrouds don't manifest, but the infestation does not hit. And luckily, okay, one Hellborn goes down. Oh man, I hate this. This is so dumb. So Hellborn, every time they shoot, every time you retarget a Hellborn, the animation gets canceled. You have to go again. Like, it is actually, it's a bug. It should not be a thing, but it does take a lot of power out of these Hellborn, even as they are pretty strong in the late game. You have to just let them fight. It's an anti-micro thing. It's a bit annoying, but that fight actually for TheoRy was a lot better than I expected this to be. And Daily Buzzed, you're welcome. I do stream. I didn't stream yesterday just because I was too late to it. I didn't have a live thumbnail, which was the thing. But you're most welcome. I do try to. I stream most of the time. I co-stream on YouTube and Twitch. Personally, I think that YouTube's a better viewing experience because you can kind of scrub back and theoretically the quality is higher. I don't have high enough upload to. I don't have a good enough upload rate to take advantage of YouTube's uncapped bit rate, but even still. And Clan Ewok is correct. Vulcans or Atlases would help with this quite a bit, but I think we're looking at this scenario where Mixu is aware that he is in an incredible spot in this game, and making a tech transition slows down his attempt to end the game. So he's kind of all in on this. This does give TheoRy a way back into it, absolutely, but it's a very thin window as the third base goes down. I mean, this has so much exo damage, and now with the medtech as well, things are just getting healed a little bit more. Diving on top, imps do not get the connections that they need. Not really. Hellborn, the only thing holding the line at this point. More imps, solid connections. And Mixu's going to have to kite away. And again, these Hellborns, now there's nothing buffering for the exo, so the Hellborns are starting to get damage done. They're starting to knock things down. Yeah, they do have trash emote support. You are correct, Bakken and Proto. Depends. Are you watching Are you watching for chat? Are you watching because you want a better visual viewing experience? Depends. If I'm throwing something up on my TV, I'm going to throw it up on YouTube. If there's a YouTube stream, if I'm watching on my phone and I'm posting in Twitch chat, I'm going to pay attention to Twitch. But anyways, base is going to get remade here. We got the Shadow Flyers on the way because Vulcan drops are going to start to join the fray sooner rather than later. Foshers, thank you so much for the Prime sub. But yeah, only the dragon can save him. The trick is, I don't know that there's going to be enough money for a dragon as we see imps go over here trying to deal with this, but it's not going to be enough, not yet. And then fight at the front actually is working out pretty nicely for Hellborn. Target things down. Where are the imps going to go? And right on top of things, Lancers are starting to go down. The Atlas starts to fall here. The Hellborn are crushing this just a little bit. The army has to run away. Right side, though, TheoRy's going to lose his 5th base. He's going to, maybe. Mixu is paying attention. Oh, he's doing such a good, nice job. This evac is low, but it's not dead just yet. Meanwhile, left side, fight also goes poorly on the rejoinder. So, yeah, TheoRy, I thought it was looking really good for him because he's going to lose this right side base. Just barely the evac stays alive and allows that to happen. North side base, Bob's want this, but there's a shrine right there, and it's going to get dealt with because this army is just very slow. The Hellborn do not maneuver pretty quickly at all. So this base will fall. Right side base is dead as well. And TheoRy, briefly, he developed an economy to match its opponent. This is a 4 base in Vanguard, or 6 base Vanguard player. He had 6 bases, but now quick build on this base. Bottom side, he's gonna have to build a shrine, I guess. Maybe he can take this advantage to go through the middle. He's got 4 Hellborn. He can kind of plug the choke. It's gonna be hard, decently hard for Lancers to get on top of this, to target these Hellborn down. We're gonna see, Atlas shots are doing friendly fire. If he can plug the gap, maybe. But of course, the Atlas can also friendly fire. Don't bathe in the plasma field. That is not very good. But but the Dragon's out now. And honestly, the anti-air is okay, but it's not incredible. You do have to be careful, though, because the Exos can target this down with extreme alacrity. Lancers get on top of the Hellborn. Two of them still survive. Infestation on top of this as well. This is Theory's one shot here. The Dragon has to stay alive. It has to convert these fiends on into an army for Theory, but it is not enough at all. The Dragon dies so fast. And we move on to game number 6. The bottom right. Oh, we need to update the overlay. I am so sorry. All right, there we go. The bottom right in the blue. He won games. He's won the even side of games. Let's see if he can win 2 in a row and take us to game number 7. It's Mixu. Upper right in the red. This is tournament point. It's Theory. As I see people already complaining about the catapult pushes in chat. I don't think that catapult should do friendly fire. I actually don't, because they're not. If a unit is controllable, it can do friendly fire. If a unit is uncontrollable, I don't think it should do friendly fire. That's actually just, I don't think that's a good idea. What I would be okay with is if these were not killable trees. If the I think this map is actually totally fine if it only can go around the long way. But if you're forced to go, if you open the push through the middle, that's where it starts to become a problem. As for now, we're going to, of course, see the Shroud Stone go down. The Scout doesn't really do much of this. Now, notice the Imp is not converting into a second Shroud Stone. It doesn't want to. It wants to be able to knock these trees down, burn them, or cut them down. So, by the way, I say these are trees. These are, in fact, rock spires, but they are functionally trees. That's how they work. So, the Imp is there. It's going to cut these things down eventually. But look at this. Both players are rushing the camp. This is how we're at. Now we're storm gaming. Right, this is what we want to see. So, Theory is, of course, going to be into this a little bit faster. Shroud Stone built just a little bit faster. He's got Gaunts that can kite a little bit better. Lancers don't really do this as well. You got to get a Lancer over. Put it in the Sentry Post, and then you Mass Repair, and that's how you take it down. This will be, again, this is a little bit quicker for Theory. And the rocks are already slowly getting taken down. Of course, at each worker, 2 shots a tree, quote unquote. Am I a Scrap Station apologist? Nazex FX says, no, Scrap Station is a horrible map. But I think the reason this map is bad is because how quickly these catapult siege pushes happen and how hard it is like to defend the ramp. I think that if it goes around the long way, it gives you a much longer opportunity to go and dive on top of the catapult and make something happen. It's more, there's more counterplay available. But now we're gonna see a catapult fight. Here's the problem though. Trapstone on the high ground will get killed. That's not really gonna be not a successful cancel, but catapults here. Now Lancers, are they gonna dive on top of this? I actually is a little bit interesting. So Mixu's trying to take the catapult. He has to salvage the bunker actually. He's not gonna get this catapult after all. In fact, his Lancers are just taking damage from it. But here's the second problem that maybe we need to talk about. It's double conclave. Volt's not done yet. Lancers are still very good against these against the Gaunts. So you have to be careful about that. Certainly the catapult does damage, but Mixu's doing a nice job of dodging for the time being. Now tries to dive on top of the catapult. The Exos, they're killing all the Gaunts. They're doing a pretty nice job, but the bounce is killing a couple more. More Gaunts are starting to rally in, and now, hey, there's a catapult in the main base. Starting to get on top of production. That's the big deal. Exos, or excuse me, Lancers, they're killing off a lot of these Gaunts, actually. Once the Gaunts are dead. Well, please, Theory, target fire the low Lancers. You target firing the high damage ones. Another one will, or the high health ones, and they won't go down. So this holds on. The attack is totally gone, and I'm not saying we're going to game 7 just yet, but this is pretty rough. Theory's thinking about taking the other catapult camp, but opening up double racks against Gaunts, Theory is not storm gaming. And all you Vanguard apologists, all you Vanguard copers in chat saying this map is impossible for Vanguard players. Well, that looked like a pretty easy hold. Not gonna lie. And there's their base on the way. Now this is pretty cool. I do. Joel Wecker does a great job pointing this out. There's a fiend hiding in the corner here, and what he's trying to do, he's like, oh, when are you gonna go for it? Lancer has to go sit on top of this. He's kiting the chickens away. But Theory, he's trying to jack the camp. Chicken. He gets it. Oh, he does it. Oh, he kills a Lancer with it too. Oh, it's a disaster for Mixu. Oh, he does it. And now, by the way, this level 2 Lancer, it's got 15 HP. It is not a tanky boy whatsoever. Now there are brutes on the field. Look at that. Theory is just, he's as cracked as he is jacked. This is a significant problem now. This was a disaster for TheoRy, absolutely, but now he's able to rally with 2 conclaves, 1 volt. He's got a catapult again, and this is the awkward thing where there's a third base, or there's a natural at the double luminite, so his opponent kind of has to defend both sides. It's a little weird. We're going to see a last second sell on the habitat, so getting a little bit of money right back. But now that there are brutes on the field, oh, this is actually bad. This is bad. The fact this catapult is attacking this base. Okay, it's going to re-aggro off. I thought it might just get stuck attacking the base, which is not great. But the mobs are going to overcharge now. Brutes at the front line. Well, oh man, this Lancer, target this Lancer down. There we go. It's going to, level 2 Lancer will fall. Gonster jumped upon on the backside. More brutes are going to start to rally on forward here. The catapult's still here, and the fiends are starting to spawn. And this Creepjack may have just won TheoRy this entire freaking tournament. The Lancers are starting to fall. Only 2 of them right here. The catapult is dead, but the overcharge is going to last only so long. The fiends are starting to spawn. There's another barracks on the way because one of them has died, but the fiend spam commences. The mobs are no longer overcharged. There's only 1 Lancer on the field, and the Creepjack, at the end of the day, the Creepjack wins TheoRy the entire tournament. Looks like Mixu's a little bit broken there. The chat's broken, but he GG's out just enough times. TheoRy wins 4-2. What a tragic way to lose. What a triumphant way to win. Oh, what a final game. That was fun.